Tonight you are invited to an office Christmas party at the Plaza Hotel in New York City. The lights are warm, the smiles are practiced, and the open bar is quietly persuasive. People get a little too honest, a little too affectionate, and a little too brave with the microphone. Settle in for calm sarcasm, soft drama, and the gentle tension of co-workers pretending Monday will never come. Chapter 1. The Invitation That Pretends to be Friendly. The email arrived on a Monday morning with the soft confidence of something that had already decided your plans. It was cheerful in the way only a corporate email can be cheerful, where every sentence is smiling while quietly checking your calendar permissions. The subject line promised joy and connection and holiday spirit. The body promised appetizers, an open bar, and a reminder that the company was a family. The company always became a family right before it wanted something. In this case, it wanted everyone to show up and prove they could be social in an approved way. At the bottom, there was the final line, the one that did the real work. Attendance is strongly encouraged. Strongly encouraged was the phrase the office used when it meant you can say no, but we will remember. It was the same tone used for training videos, for wellness seminars, and for the annual survey where honesty was anonymous in the same way a fish is anonymous in a small bowl. Most people replied within minutes. Sounds fun. Looking forward to it. Excited to celebrate with everyone. The replies came in a small parade of enthusiasm, like a row of paper snowmen taped to a wall. It was not that anyone was lying. It was that everyone was translating their real feelings into workplace language. I read the email twice because I enjoy pain and because I like to study how words can be both friendly and mildly threatening. Then I replied with the safest message I could manage. Thanks, I will be there. That was all. I did not add an exclamation point because I did not want to be misunderstood as a person with unregulated joy. I also did not want to look cold. In an office, being cold is like having spinach in your teeth. Someone will notice and they will make it about your character. The party was scheduled for a Friday evening at the Plaza Hotel, which was a location that did not pretend to be casual. The Plaza was not a place you stumbled into. The Plaza was the kind of place that made you stand up straighter just from hearing the name. It was the office version of saying, "We are doing well, please act like it." Our company was a mid-sized analytics and consulting firm, which meant we sold numbers wrapped in confidence. We made reports that told clients what they suspected, but in a font that looked expensive. We built dashboards that made chaos feel organized. We spoke in sentences that started with, "The data suggests," and ended with, "We recommend." We were not saving the world, we were helping it make better slide decks. By the time the invitation arrived, the office had already started its yearly transformation. That week, someone placed a bowl of candy canes near the printer. Someone else taped paper snowflakes to the glass wall of the conference room. They looked like they had been cut with scissors and resentment. The office playlist began to include holiday music that was carefully chosen to be harmless, like a lullaby played in a waiting room. The decorations were not really decorations, they were signals. They told us what mood we were supposed to have. On Tuesday, Melissa Grant from Human Resources sent a follow-up email. It reminded everyone to dress festive but professional. It reminded everyone that the company expected respectful behavior. It reminded everyone that the open bar was a privilege, not a challenge. Melissa wrote in the tone of someone who had seen a lot. She had the calm of a person who could describe chaos in bullet points. She signed off with warm wishes and a sentence about safe rides home, which was a polite way of saying, "Please do not make me write an incident report." The office reacted in predictable ways. Kevin Brooks, who worked in finance, printed the email and put it on his desk like a sacred text. Kevin was the kind of person who read policies for comfort. If you told him there was a rule, he would ask where it lived and how often it was updated. Chloe Rivera from sales responded by saying she had nothing to worry about because she was always respectful. Chloe said this with a smile that suggested she had just defined respectful in a way that benefited her. Dana Price from operations asked if festive meant sequins. Dana did not wait for an answer. Dana assumed the answer was yes. Mia Park from marketing made a group chat called Plaza Survival Guide and posted a picture of comfortable shoes. Mia lived in reality and believed in preparation. And then there was Richard Hale, our managing director, our boss in the official sense, and our weather system in the emotional sense. Richard had the charm of a man who believed charm was a skill set. He liked to say he valued people. He liked to say we were all leaders. He liked to say things that sounded good in a quarterly meeting. Richard sent one email to the entire company. It said he could not wait to celebrate our incredible year. It included a single holiday emoji, which in a corporate environment is the equivalent of taking off your tie and showing you have a pulse. After that, the week proceeded with the normal rhythms of modern office life. Meetings, deadlines, coffee, the quiet tension of people who pretend they are not tired. But under the surface, everyone was thinking about Friday. Office parties are not just parties. They are a social test with snacks. They are the place where people discover who they are when they have 2 drinks and no spreadsheet in front of them. They are where quiet co-workers become poets. They are where confident co-workers become oddly emotional. They are where someone always says something that should have stayed inside their brain. I had been at the company long enough to know the pattern. There was always a hero, someone who held it together and helped others get home. There was always a comedian, someone who tried to turn awkwardness into entertainment. There was always a romantic plot, usually unplanned. There was always a moment of mild rebellion, when someone decided to speak to the boss like the boss was a person. And there was always, without exception, a Monday morning where everyone pretended nothing happened while quietly remembering everything. On Wednesday, I overheard a conversation near the kitchen. 2 junior analysts were discussing what to wear, as if their clothing would determine their future. One said she wanted to look sophisticated. The other said he wanted to look approachable. They agreed that both goals were difficult in a building with fluorescent lighting. They asked my opinion. I told them the truth, which was that nobody would remember your outfit if someone spilled a drink on the boss. They laughed politely and then returned to their planning, because in an office you never take the advice that could actually help you. On Thursday, people started leaving early, as if conserving energy for the performance ahead. There was an unspoken agreement that Friday was a short day, even though nobody said it out loud. The calendar still showed meetings, but the meetings felt symbolic, like cardboard decorations. I spent Friday moving through the day like someone walking toward a thunderstorm. I finished my tasks, I answered messages, I nodded in video calls, I did everything a normal employee does while thinking about the fact that in a few hours I would be standing in a hotel ballroom pretending the company was a warm community. Around mid-afternoon I saw Richard in the hallway. He looked energized, which meant he was either excited or he had just had an unusually aggressive espresso. He asked if I was ready for tonight. I said yes, because that is what you say when your boss asks if you are ready for something. Richard said it was going to be a great night. He said he wanted everyone to relax and have fun. He said he hoped we would all connect outside of work. This sounded lovely in the way a brochure sounds lovely. I smiled and said I agreed. Richard patted my shoulder with the warm authority of a man who believed he was creating culture. When he walked away, I saw Melissa watching from across the office. Melissa gave me a look that said, "Remember the respectful behavior reminder." She did not speak. She did not need to. Human resources is the art of communicating without leaving evidence. At 5, the office started to empty. People said see you tonight with a strange excitement, like they were heading to a concert where the band might break up mid-song. I went home, changed and practiced looking like a person who enjoyed gatherings. My outfit was simple. Dark clothes, neat shoes, a jacket that looked like I had a plan. I checked my breath, my hair, my phone battery, and my ability to tolerate small talk. On the way to the plaza, the city looked like it was doing its own holiday performance. Strings of lights, shop windows dressed up like theatre sets, people moving quickly with bags and scarves, the air sharp and clean, like it was trying to wake everyone up. I arrived early, which is my personal form of self-defense. If you arrive early, you can choose where to stand. You can take a breath before the room fills with laughter and perfume and opinions. Outside the plaza, the entrance was bright and elegant. A doorman held the door like it was a privilege to enter. which to be fair it was. I stepped inside and felt the temperature change. Warmth, soft carpets, the smell of polished wood and expensive decisions. The lobby glowed, and for a moment I forgot I was here for work people. I could have been here for a different life, a life where I was mysterious and relaxed, and did not know what a quarterly forecast was. Then I saw the first familiar face near the entrance, and my brain returned to its usual setting. The night had begun. Chapter 2. The Lobby Glow and the Coat Check Confessional. The first familiar face was Mia Park, standing near a decorative arrangement that looked like Winter had hired a stylist. Mia was holding her phone like a shield and scanning the room the way a lifeguard scans a crowded pool. She saw me and smiled with relief. "I am glad you made it," she said, and her tone suggested she had been worried she would have to survive alone. Mia had a quiet competence that made people feel safe. In meetings, she took notes that saved everyone. In crises, she spoke in calm sentences. At parties, she had the rare skill of making small talk without turning it into a competitive sport. She asked if I had eaten. I said not yet. She nodded like a doctor receiving a familiar symptom. "Good," she said. "Eat first. The drinks will try to trick you." This was the kind of advice you only hear from someone who has learned the hard way, or who has watched others learn the hard way and taken notes. We walked toward Coat Check. The line was not long yet, and I could feel the party still forming, like dough rising. People arrived in waves, each wave louder than the last. The coat check area was staffed by a man with an expression of patient neutrality. He took coats the way a bartender takes confessions, with practiced calm and no visible judgment. As Mia handed over her coat, she leaned in and lowered her voice. "If I disappear later," she said, "it is because I went home, not because I died." I told her that was a reasonable plan. Behind us, Kevin Brooks arrived, dressed as if he had been invited to a board meeting, not a party. He carried his coat carefully, like he did not trust it. He greeted us with polite energy and asked if we had read the reminder email. Mia said yes. I said yes. Kevin nodded, as if we had passed a small test. He leaned closer and said the phrase that always signals trouble. "I just hope people behave." Kevin always hoped people behaved. Kevin hoped traffic behaved. Kevin hoped weather behaved. Kevin hoped the universe would stop being so unpredictable. Behind Kevin, Dana Price arrived, and Dana was wearing sequins. Not a small amount of sequins, a confident amount. Dana looked like a holiday ornament that had come to life and decided to manage a project. Dana hugged Mia, then hugged me, then looked at Kevin. "Kevin," Dana said, "do not look like that. It is a party." Kevin said he was not looking like anything. Dana said he was looking like a compliance seminar. Kevin made a sound that might have been a laugh, if you believed in miracles. We moved from coat check toward the ballroom area. The event staff had placed signs and velvet ropes to guide us. The hallway felt like a corridor leading to a social experiment. At the entrance there was a table with name tags. The name tags were printed in neat black letters and placed in rows, like tiny labels for who we were allowed to be tonight. Seeing your name on a sticker always does something strange to your brain. It makes you feel both official and slightly ridiculous, like you have joined a club for adults who forgot how to introduce themselves. I found my name tag and stuck it to my jacket. Mia did the same. Dana stuck hers a little crooked, which somehow suited her. Kevin paused, then carefully placed his tag exactly straight. If the sticker had been off by a millimeter, he would have noticed, and he would have fixed it, and he would have slept better. Inside the ballroom, the lights were dim and warm. There were tables arranged with simple holiday decor. There was a bar along one side, already busy with early arrivals. A small stage was set up, which meant there would be speeches, because no corporate gathering is complete without someone turning joy into a presentation. Soft music played, the kind designed to fill silence without demanding attention. The room smelled like wine and citrus and expensive soap. People were already practicing their party selves. They smiled, they laughed, they leaned in close when talking, because the music made everyone feel like they were in a movie. The air carried the first hints of something else too, a slight edge, a soft tension. Not bad, present. Like a string pulled a little tight. I spotted Chloe Rivera near the bar, talking to two managers as if she owned the room. Chloe had the ability to make casual conversation feel like a negotiation. Her laugh was bright and controlled. Her posture said, "I am comfortable everywhere." When she saw Mia, she waved with the confidence of someone who always assumed she was welcome. Mia waved back, then leaned toward me. "Chloe is already networking," Mia said. "I said she would network at her own birthday." Mia smiled because she knew it was true. We headed to the buffet. The food looked good, which was both comforting and suspicious. Comforting because it meant we would not have to survive on pretzels. Suspicious because when food is good at a work event, it usually means something else is about to go wrong, as if the universe is balancing the scales. There were small plates of appetizers carefully arranged. There were trays carried by staff who moved like ghosts in formal clothing. There was a carving station that looked like it belonged in a different era, when people called each other sir without irony. I filled a plate and took the first bite. It was excellent. I felt my shoulders drop a little. Mia did the same. Dana sampled 3 things and declared them all delicious. Kevin took a modest portion and ate as if he was following instructions. We found a spot near the edge of the room, which is where people like us gather when we want to be part of something without being consumed by it. For a moment, things were calm. People arrived, the room filled. The sound grew louder, like a gentle tide. Then came the first sign that the night would be what it always was. A junior consultant named Ethan wandered over, holding a drink that was supposed to look casual. Ethan was smart and polite, and he had the nervous energy of someone who feared being perceived. He greeted us and then, without warning, said he was stressed. Not about work, he said quickly, as if work stress was normal and allowed. He was stressed about his life. He was stressed about his choices. He was stressed about whether he had a personality. Mia gave him a look of kindness that could have been bottled and sold. Dana said, "You have a personality, you are just sober." Ethan laughed too loudly, then sipped his drink like it was medicine. Kevin looked alarmed, not by the confession, but by the fact that it had happened without a formal agenda. Ethan kept talking. He said he thought he might be the kind of person who was better in emails than in real life. He said he wished he could take a class on being relaxed. He said he admired people who could walk into a room and just exist. He looked at Chloe across the room and said, "Like her, she is so confident." Dana said, "Confidence is a hobby. Some people practice it more." Ethan nodded, taking this in like a sacred teaching. Then he said something else, softer. He said he hoped tonight would be fun, but he also hoped nobody would remember anything. This was the most honest summary of an office party I had ever heard. Mia patted his arm and told him to eat more and drink water. Ethan thanked her like she had saved him from drowning and wandered off. As he left, Mia sighed. "It is early," she said. "It is early," I agreed. Dana looked toward the bar. "It will get worse," Dana said, "but also funnier." Kevin frowned. "It does not have to get worse," Kevin said. Dana looked at him gently. "Kevin," Dana said, "it always gets worse. That is why we have coats." We watched the room. More people arrived. The volume rose. Someone started clapping because they saw someone else arrive, and suddenly there were little pockets of applause like small storms. At the bar, the first wave of drinks was already making people louder. Some people become softer when they drink. Others become brighter. A few become strangely brave. Near the center of the room I saw Melissa Grant, calm as ever, holding a sparkling water and scanning faces with a professional concern. Melissa was not here to have fun. Melissa was here to prevent stories. I made eye contact with her and gave her a small nod, the way you nod at a security camera when you know you are being recorded. Melissa nodded back, not unkindly, just aware. Then the doors opened again and the room changed. Richard Hale arrived. He entered with a smile that looked practiced but not fake, like he had rehearsed it in the mirror while telling himself he loved people. He wore a suit that fit perfectly, because Richard believed in presentation. He moved through the crowd shaking hands, patting shoulders, saying names with confidence. People reacted the way they always did. They straightened. They smiled a little wider. They laughed a little harder. The boss brings gravity. Even in a party, gravity works. Richard approached our corner with open arms and warm energy. "There you are," he said, and his voice carried like he was addressing a room even when he was addressing a group. He greeted Mia, praised her recent campaign results, and said she was doing incredible work. Mia thanked him in a tone that was polite and careful. He greeted Dana and said Dana always brought good energy. Dana said she brought sequins too, and Richard laughed like that was the best joke he had heard all year. He turned to Kevin and said Kevin kept the company grounded. Kevin looked pleased and slightly terrified, like he had been complimented by a judge. Then Richard looked at me and said he was glad I came. He said he hoped I would relax tonight. He said we all deserved it. Relax is a difficult instruction. You cannot command relaxation. That is like commanding someone to fall asleep. The order itself becomes a bright light in the mind. I told Richard I would do my best. Richard smiled, satisfied, and moved on, leaving behind a small trail of heightened nervous systems. As he walked away, Dana leaned toward me. "He is in a good mood," Dana whispered. "That means the night is dangerous," Mia whispered back. Kevin heard them and frowned. "We should all be professional," Kevin said. Dana looked at him, kind but firm. "Kevin," Dana said, "the bar is open. Professional is leaving the building." Kevin opened his mouth, then closed it. He took a small sip of his drink, as if considering a new worldview. The music shifted slightly, still gentle but brighter. Staff moved through the room with trays. People leaned closer and laughed. The air warmed with bodies and stories. I watched Chloe at the bar, now talking to Richard with an expression that said she was both charming and ambitious. I watched Ethan drifting near the appetizers, looking like he was searching for a quieter version of himself. I watched Melissa scan the room, already anticipating the first official problem. And I felt the night settle into its true shape. It was not chaos yet. It was just the beginning of the thing that becomes chaos. The first light snow that promises a storm. The first sip that promises another sip. The first joke that promises someone will go too far. I took a slow breath, ate another bite of food, and decided to keep my calm. If nothing else, I could be a witness. And witnesses, like coat check attendants and human resources, always know more than they want to know. The party had truly begun. Chapter 3: Open Bar, Closed Filters. The buffet line formed the way it always forms at work events, with the same quiet logic as an airport security line. People did not only choose food, they chose proximity. They chose who might see them selecting something messy. They chose whether to stand near their manager and pretend they loved conversation more than carbohydrates. The appetizers were arranged like small, edible promises. There were little bites that looked expensive, and small plates that suggested restraint was part of the experience. The staff replenished trays with the smooth speed of people who had seen every version of office celebration, from polite to historic. I joined the line behind a group from the data team. They talked about dashboards with the easy confidence of people who could not stop working, even while approaching a bowl of roasted vegetables. They made jokes that were only funny if you had ever argued about a metric definition. Ahead of them stood Chloe Rivera, holding a small plate like it was a trophy. She turned her head slightly as people approached, smiling at just the right moment. Chloe did not wait for networking opportunities, she created them. She could make eye contact feel like a job interview, even when she was selecting shrimp. Behind me, Kevin Brooks joined the line and immediately began evaluating it. "This is efficient," he said, as if the line might be offended if it were not. Dana Price appeared at my other side, sequins shimmering when the lights caught her. Dana looked at the buffet like she was about to manage it. "If I see anyone double dip," Dana said, "I will uninvite them from the human race." Kevin looked alarmed. "That is not funny," Kevin said. Dana smiled gently. "It is funny," Dana said. "You just do not like laughter that comes with consequences." Mia Park stood a little behind us. holding a glass of sparkling water like a moral compass. She watched the room with a calm focus that suggested she was already planning at least 2 rescues. "You all need to eat," Mia said. "Especially you, Dana." Dana nodded and put 3 things on her plate. "I think I am eating responsibly," Dana said. Kevin glanced at her plate. "I do not think your plate agrees," Kevin said. As the line moved, the room grew louder. The first wave of drinking had settled in, and people were becoming more themselves, or less themselves, depending on how you like to describe it. At a certain point, alcohol does not change a person. It simply removes the small social locks they installed for survival. Near the bar, I noticed the finance team clustered like penguins near warmth. Kevin was part of finance, but he was not in that cluster. Kevin was a satellite, orbiting the idea of fun without committing to it. The cluster included Olivia Hart, who was sharp and quick and always looked like she had just discovered a loophole. It included Mark Ellis, who laughed easily and tended to narrate his own mistakes as if they were charming. It included Tyler Shaw, who had the quiet intensity of someone who could do mental math while breathing through a paper bag. They were holding creamy holiday drinks that looked like dessert with ambition. Eggnog, Mark announced to no one in particular, is basic a hug. Olivia lifted her glass. "It is also basic a trap," Olivia said, "but I respect it." Tyler sipped carefully, like he was negotiating with the drink. "It tastes like someone melted a candle into milk." Mark laughed too loudly and leaned toward Tyler. "That is the holiday spirit. You are tasting tradition and poor decisions." The finance cluster moved a little closer together, and their volume increased. This was the moment where a group begins to feel like a group, not just co-workers, but a temporary unit, a team of people who will later share a memory that becomes a warning. Kevin watched them from a distance with the expression of a man seeing a weather report change suddenly. He walked over and tried to speak with them in the way a responsible adult tries to speak with someone standing too close to a cliff. "Remember," Kevin said, "we have work on Monday." Olivia looked at him with a bright smile. "Kevin, do not mention Monday. That is like mentioning taxes in a dream." Mark raised his glass to forgetting Monday. Kevin blinked. "That is not a toast." "It is a perfect toast," Mark said. Tyler looked at Kevin with sympathy. "Kevin," Tyler said, "you are a good person. But tonight is not for good people. Tonight is for people who have been on video calls since October." Kevin opened his mouth again, then closed it. He walked away, defeated by the timeless power of eggnog confidence. Back near the buffet, Chloe was now speaking with Richard Hale. Richard stood with his shoulders relaxed and his smile ready. He looked like a man enjoying the feeling of being appreciated, which is a normal human desire, except that when a boss enjoys it too much, the office starts to pay for it later. Chloe said something that made Richard laugh. Her hand touched his sleeve briefly, casual and perfect. It was not inappropriate, it was simply calculated, the way a well-placed sentence in a meeting can be both friendly and strategic. Mia watched this and gave a small sigh. "She is working," Mia said. Dana took a bite of something and nodded. "I respect her stamina," Dana said. "I would rather eat cheese and gossip." I took another bite and watched the room. The party was reaching that point where it becomes a story. You could feel it. People were warmer, cheeks flushed, voices looser. A few people had started to tell jokes with too much confidence. Near a tall table, Ethan, the junior consultant, was talking to a group of colleagues, trying to look like someone who belonged. He held his drink with both hands and nodded as if he understood everything. Ethan saw me and waved a little too eagerly. I waved back. He smiled with relief, as if my wave had confirmed he was still alive. The music shifted again, slightly brighter. Someone turned the lights down a little more. The room looked softer, which is always dangerous because people behave differently when they think they look good. A staff member moved through the crowd and announced that we would have a short speech soon. The word short is often a lie at work events, but people accepted it politely. We all drifted toward the stage area, gathering in a loose semicircle. People held drinks, people held phones, people held each other at the elbow just enough to suggest closeness without making it official. Richard stepped up to the microphone. He adjusted it slightly, then smiled. He began with the usual phrases: incredible year, strong performance, client trust, teamwork. He praised departments by name. He praised resilience. He praised dedication. He praised the kind of effort that makes a person tired but looks good in a report. People clapped at the right moments. Richard continued, warming to his own speech. He talked about culture. He talked about values. He talked about how proud he was. Then he said something that almost sounded sincere. He said he knew the year had been intense. He said the work had been demanding. He said he appreciated everyone. This was the part where the room softened a little. Even the most cynical person in the room, and there are always many, can be moved by a boss who seems human for a moment. But a boss being human is a delicate thing, like a glass ornament. It is beautiful, but it does not survive certain falls. Richard looked out at us and said he wanted to see more connection. He wanted to see us support one another. He wanted to see us speak openly. And that was when I saw Melissa Grant from Human Resources shift her weight slightly, like someone hearing a distant siren. Encouraging open speech at an office party is like encouraging free-range chickens in a crowded street. It sounds nice. It ends badly. Richard ended his speech with a toast. To all of you, he said, to your hard work, to your futures. The room clapped. Glasses lifted. People cheered in a way that was just loud enough to feel real. Richard stepped down, pleased. Melissa exhaled quietly. We returned to movement and chatter. People flowed back toward the bar and buffet. Someone started a conversation about bonuses, which is the kind of conversation that should never happen after free alcohol, but it always does. I stood with Mia and Dana near a quieter corner. Kevin joined us, looking like he had survived a small emotional earthquake. That speech was risky, Kevin said. Dana tilted her head. The speech was normal, Dana said. The night is risky. Mia nodded. People hear open speech and think it means open season, Mia said. Kevin frowned. We should all be mindful, Kevin said. Dana looked at him with gentle patience. Kevin, Dana said, I say that with love. You are the only mindful person in this building. Kevin looked as if he was about to argue, but then he seemed to accept this as a fact of nature. Across the room I noticed a quiet tension forming near the bar. 2 employees, both mid-level managers, were speaking with polite smiles that did not reach their eyes. One was Andrew King, who led a project team and liked control. The other was Lauren Pierce, who had recently been assigned a new initiative and liked having credit. They were talking about something that sounded like a compliment, but it had edges. Andrew nodded, smile tight. I heard your team did well on that client handoff, Andrew said. Lauren smiled back. Yes, Lauren said. We did what we could with the materials we were given. That last phrase was not dangerous on its own, but it was a seed, and seeds grow quickly at parties. Andrew laughed lightly. Well, Andrew said, we all do what we can. Lauren sipped her drink and tilted her head. Some of us do more than we can, Lauren said. Andrew held his smile like it was a fragile plate. How nice, Andrew said. Their conversation drifted into the air like smoke. Anyone near them would breathe it in. This is how office tension spreads, not in explosions, but in little airborne hints. Mia noticed. That is going to become a problem, Mia said quietly. Dana watched them with interest. I cannot look away, Dana said. It is like watching 2 cats politely fight on a silk rug. Kevin looked worried. We should intervene, Kevin said. Mia shook her head. Not yet, Mia said. Intervening too early makes people feel observed. Let it burn itself out. That was another thing Mia knew. Sometimes the calmest way to handle social tension is to let it run out of fuel. We moved toward the food again, partly for comfort, partly to look busy. The buffet had been replenished. The carving station continued its dignified service, as if it had no idea it was surrounded by co-workers slowly losing their filters. I noticed the finance cluster again. Their eggnog drinks were disappearing and reappearing. Mark was now telling a story with large hand gestures. Olivia was laughing hard enough to lean forward. Tyler looked relaxed in the way a person looks when they have decided to stop fighting reality. Kevin watched them and sighed. They are going to regret this, Kevin said. Dana took a slow bite. "They're going to remember it as fun until someone mentions it on Monday," Dana said. Mia looked at her phone briefly. "I am setting my own limit," Mia said. 2 hours. Then I am gone." We stood near a tall table and listened to the room. The party continued to warm. Laughter rose. People told stories they would not tell in a conference room. People leaned in closer. A few people touched arms and shoulders in friendly ways that might become something else later, depending on how the night went. Then Ethan returned to our area holding a new drink. He looked both hopeful and slightly terrified. "I tried eggnog," Ethan said. "And?" Dana asked. Ethan nodded seriously. "It tastes like holiday perfume," Ethan said, "but I do not hate it." Kevin glanced at the drink. "How many have you had?" Kevin asked. Ethan blinked. "This is my second," Ethan said. Kevin made a sound that suggested sorrow. "Be careful," Kevin said. Ethan nodded as if he had just been advised about mountain climbing. "I am being careful," Ethan said. Dana smiled. "Ethan," Dana said, "careful is not a feeling you have after eggnog. Careful is a plan you make before eggnog." Ethan looked at his cup, then looked back up. "I did not make a plan," Ethan said. Mia patted his arm. "Then drink water," Mia said, "and eat something." Ethan nodded again and wandered toward the buffet, looking like a person seeking salvation in bread. As the night moved forward, I felt the party shift into a new phase. It was still polite, but the edges were closer. People were telling each other the truth in gentle packages. People were laughing at jokes that were only half jokes. The open bar was doing its quiet work. It was not shouting, it was whispering. It was saying, "You are safe here, say what you want." It was saying, "You deserve to be honest." It was saying, "Nobody will remember," which is the most dangerous lie a drink can tell. I stayed calm. I stayed observant. I ate another appetizer and watched Andrew and Lauren continue their polite war near the bar. I watched Chloe glide through conversations like she was collecting invisible points. I watched Richard smile at everyone, basking in the glow of being the center of a room. And I watched Melissa, calm as ever, holding her sparkling water and preparing for the first real incident. Because there is always an incident, even in the best office, even in the nicest hotel, especially with an open bar. The night was not out of control yet, but it had started to loosen the screws. Chapter 4: Secret Santa and Selective Memory. The gift table was set up near the side of the ballroom, close enough to be seen but far enough to make you walk past people, which is how office events encourage mild discomfort. Wrapped packages were stacked in neat rows, each one labelled with a small tag. Gifts are supposed to be cheerful. At work, gifts are also messages. A gift can say, "I appreciate you." A gift can say, "I know you." A gift can say, "I noticed your habits." A gift can also say, "I have been quietly judging you and thought you deserved this item as a lesson." Secret Santa is a game built on the idea that everyone can handle surprises. This is a brave assumption in an office where people can barely handle a calendar change. Melissa Grant approached the microphone and announced it was time for the exchange. Her voice was warm and controlled, the voice of a person guiding a group through a potentially messy activity. She reminded everyone of the rules. Keep it friendly, keep it appropriate, smile, be kind. She said this lightly, but the message was clear. If you ruin this, you will meet me in a small room later. People gathered around the gift table. Some stood close, excited. Others hung back, pretending they were not nervous. A few looked like they wanted to escape through the nearest wall. I stood with Mia and Dana near the edge of the crowd. Kevin was with us, upright and alert, as if we were about to witness an audit. Ethan was nearby too, eyes wide, smiling in a fragile way. He had a gift in his hands and held it like it contained a small animal. Chloe stood closer to the front. She looked interested, like she expected something entertaining. Richard stood near Melissa, laughing and chatting, trying to look like a relaxed leader. He did not look nervous. He should have been. Melissa began calling names from a list. People stepped forward, found their gift and brought it back to their spot. Then one by hour, people opened their gifts. The first few went well. Someone got a mug with a holiday design. Someone got a candle. Someone got a small fancy box of chocolates. People laughed politely and said thank you. It was gentle. It was safe. Then a gift went to Mark Ellis from finance. Mark ripped the wrapping paper with the enthusiasm of a child who had never been told to be careful. Inside was a book titled something like How to be Mindful at Work, along with a small stress ball shaped like a snowman. Mark held it up. "Whoever got me this," Mark said, "I want you to know this is deeply personal." The crowd laughed. Mark laughed too, but his laugh had a tiny edge, because nobody likes being told to calm down even when it is true. Olivia Hart received a set of fancy pens. She smiled with real appreciation. Olivia liked tools. Tools made sense. Tools did not pretend. Tyler Shaw received a small desk plant. He looked at it like it was a responsibility. "This is a living thing," Tyler said, as if discovering this fact for the first time. Dana leaned toward me. "That plant is not going to make it," Dana whispered. Mia whispered back. "Do not say it out loud," Mia said. "Let Tyler have hope." Then Melissa called Kevin Brooks. Kevin stepped forward with a cautious smile. He found his gift and carried it back carefully, as if it could explode. Kevin began to open it slowly, folding the paper neatly. The crowd watched. Kevin was not a dramatic person, which meant everyone expected the gift to be dramatic, because the universe enjoys contrast. Inside was a small framed print. It showed a set of words in decorative font, something about relaxing and living in the moment. Alongside it was a pair of fuzzy socks with tiny holiday designs. Kevin stared at the socks. Kevin stared at the print. Kevin looked up. "This is," Kevin said, unexpectedly humorous. Dana covered her mouth, eyes bright. Mia smiled softly. "Kevin," Dana said, "put those socks on immediately. Become the person you were meant to be." Kevin looked horrified. "Not now," Kevin said. The crowd laughed, partly because the gift was funny, and partly because Kevin reacting to anything was rare and therefore valuable. Kevin forced a smile and said thank you, then stepped back into our small cluster. "I did not know I needed socks," Kevin said, as if this was a philosophical discovery. Dana patted his shoulder. "We all need socks," Dana said. "Some of us just pretend we do not." The exchange continued. The room stayed cheerful. The drinks continued to whisper. Then Melissa called Andrew King. Andrew walked forward with a smooth smile, collected and confident. He found his gift and carried it back like a man carrying a prize. He opened it in a controlled way. Inside was a small trophy, the kind sold in novelty stores. The plaque read something like Best Micromanager, with a tiny figure holding a clipboard. A hush slid over the crowd, very brief, but real. Andrew held the trophy. His smile stayed in place, but it tightened. For a moment you could see his brain working. Was it a joke? Was it a warning? Was it cruel? Was it deserved? Was it meant by a friend or by someone who disliked him? Andrew laughed. "This is hilarious," Andrew said in a voice that sounded like it was trying to convince itself. Some people laughed too, but it was not as smooth. It was a laugh with questions inside it. Dana leaned toward me. "Someone chose chaos," Dana whispered. Kevin looked pale. "That is inappropriate," Kevin whispered. Mia watched Andrew carefully, then glanced around the crowd. Mia was reading the room like a person reading smoke direction. Andrew held the trophy up. "I accept," Andrew said. "I would like to thank my team for surviving me." The crowd laughed again, more comfortably now, relieved to have permission to laugh. Andrew stepped back, still holding the trophy. He looked composed, but his eyes were sharper than before. That gift had landed. It did not land like a pillow, it landed like a paperweight. And then Melissa called Lauren Pierce. Lauren stepped forward, smiling calmly. She found her gift and brought it back. She opened it with neat hands. Inside was a notebook with a shiny cover and a small sticky notepad shaped like a star. Lauren lifted the notebook. "Lovely," Lauren said. Her smile was real enough. Her gift was safe. That made Andrew's gift feel even less safe. The contrast was unkind. Lauren looked toward Andrew and gave a small polite smile, as if to say, "That was awkward for you." Her smile might have been kind, it might have been satisfied. In the glow of party lights it was hard to tell. Dana whispered. "If Andrew finds out who did that," Dana said, "we will have a new project. Revenge." Kevin whispered back. "This is why we should not do this activity," Kevin said. Mia said nothing. Mia watched. The exchange continued, but the atmosphere had changed. It was still festive, it was still cheerful. But now there was a small thread of tension woven into it, a thin wire under the ribbon. Then something even worse happened, but in a quiet way. Melissa called Ethan. Ethan stepped forward with the careful steps of a person approaching a stage for the first time. He found his gift and returned, smiling with nervous hope. He opened it quickly, almost too quickly, because he wanted to get through it. Inside was a book titled something like How to Speak with Confidence. Alongside it was a small toy microphone. Ethan froze. The crowd laughed because toy microphones are funny. But Ethan did not laugh right away. His face tightened with surprise. His eyes flicked across faces, searching for meaning. Ethan tried to smile. Ethan said, "this is good." Mia leaned forward slightly, her eyes kind. "Ethan," Mia said softly, "that is fine. It is fine." Dana tilted her head. "Whoever got Ethan that," Dana whispered, "was either trying to help or trying to be mean in a polite way." Kevin looked furious. "That is cruel," Kevin whispered. I watched Ethan. He lifted the toy microphone and gave a small, awkward wave. "Thank you," Ethan said, and his voice cracked slightly on the last word, not from sadness but from the pressure of being watched. The crowd clapped politely. Melissa smiled calmly, but her eyes moved quickly, scanning for who looked too pleased. Ethan stepped back and joined a nearby group. He held the book close like a shield. Mia looked at me. "I'm going to check on him later," Mia said. Dana nodded. "Please do," Dana said. "He is going to overthink this until February." Kevin whispered. "If I find out who did that," Kevin said, "I will have words." This was the closest Kevin came to threatening anything. It was gentle, but in Kevin language it was a storm warning. The gift exchange wrapped up with a few more safe items. A scarf, a fancy hot sauce set, a small box of cookies. People laughed and clapped and tried to return to pure cheer. Melissa thanked everyone and suggested we enjoy the rest of the night. The crowd drifted away from the gift table and back into the room. The music rose slightly. The bar resumed its quiet work. The buffet continued its calm service. But the gift table had done what it always does. It had revealed things. It revealed who tried to be funny. It revealed who tried to be kind. It revealed who knew someone well. It revealed who did not. It revealed who used the game to say something without saying it. Andrew still held his trophy. He carried it around like a joke he had accepted publicly and questioned privately. Ethan held his book and toy microphone and tried to smile when people said it was funny. His smile was polite and thin, the kind of smile that is meant to end a conversation. Mia walked with me toward the bar area, then leaned closer. "I do not like that," Mia said. I said which part, because there were many. Mia answered quietly. "The part where people hide sharpness inside wrapping paper," Mia said. Dana joined us, holding a drink that looked festive and dangerous. "I love wrapping paper," Dana said. "But yes, some people should not be allowed to use it." Kevin caught up with us, still irritated. "This is exactly why we need guidelines," Kevin said. Dana smiled. "Kevin," Dana said, "guidelines are cute. Humans are not." We stood near a tall table. The room looked bright again, but under the brightness, people were thinking. People were replaying gifts in their heads. People were wondering who gave what. People were making mental lists of who laughed, who did not, who looked offended, who looked pleased. This is the real secret of Secret Santa. The gifts do not stay secret. They become theories. They become stories. They become tiny office myths. Melissa moved through the crowd, still calm, still watching. Richard laughed with a group near the stage, unaware or pretending to be unaware of the small tensions growing like hairline cracks. Chloe appeared beside us, smiling. "That was fun," Chloe said. Dana looked at her. "Fun," Dana repeated, as if tasting the word. Chloe smiled wider. You cannot deny it was entertaining, Chloe said. Mia kept her tone gentle. It was a bit sharp, Mia said. Chloe shrugged. It is an office, Chloe said. Sharp is part of the culture. Kevin looked at her as if she had admitted to a crime. It should not be, Kevin said. Chloe smiled at Kevin in a way that was almost kind. Kevin, Chloe said, you are adorable. Kevin blinked, stunned by the word adorable, as if it had been thrown at him. Dana laughed. Leave him alone, Dana said. He is the last guardian of decency. Chloe lifted her drink slightly and drifted away, already moving to another conversation. I watched her go. Chloe was not cruel, Chloe was simply skilled. She understood the social game and played it as if the rules were obvious. Mia looked at the room again. We need a small reset, Mia said. Dana nodded. Yes, Dana said. A reset. Or at least a snack. Kevin sighed. How do we reset? Kevin asked. Mia answered without hesitation. Water, Mia said. Food, and a conversation about anything other than gifts. Dana pointed toward the buffet. I can do food, Dana said. Food is my love language. Kevin looked uncertain but followed us anyway. We walked toward the buffet together, a small team formed not by department but by shared awareness. We ate. We drank water. We made gentle conversation about safe topics. For a few minutes, it worked. The room felt lighter again. People laughed more naturally. The music filled the air. The hotel lights softened edges. But the reset button was stuck. That is the trouble with office parties. You cannot unhear what you heard. You cannot unsee what you saw. You cannot unwrap a gift back into harmless paper. You can only keep moving, keep smiling, and hope the night does not pull the thread too hard. Chapter 5: Karaoke and the Microphone of Doom. The stage had been waiting patiently all night, like a small raised warning. It sat at the edge of the ballroom under soft lights, holding a microphone on a stand and a speaker that looked too confident. At some point, someone had decided the party needed karaoke, which is how you know the planning committee believed in personal growth through mild humiliation. A staff member adjusted a cable. Another staff member checked a tablet. The tablet was the only thing keeping the karaoke civilized. Without it, karaoke becomes a social experiment where everyone discovers who knows lyrics and who only knows confidence. Melissa Grant appeared near the stage and spoke briefly with the event staff. She nodded in the way a person nods when making peace with an inevitable problem. Then she moved away, still holding her sparkling water, still scanning faces, still trying to keep the night from becoming a legend. Mia stood beside me and Dana, looking toward the stage with the careful expression of someone watching a toddler approach a staircase. This is where it changes, Mia said. Dana lifted her drink slightly. This is where it becomes art. Kevin Brooks joined her, posture straight, eyes wary. This is where it becomes unprofessional. Dana looked at him. Kevin? Karaoke is always unprofessional. That is why it is popular. Kevin frowned, but he did not walk away. Kevin never walked away from risk. Kevin approached risk with concern and then stayed nearby to feel responsible. A staff member announced karaoke was open. There was a polite cheer from the crowd, the kind of cheer that says we support this idea, as long as someone else goes first. The room waited. No one moved. The air filled with that special silence where everyone is thinking the same thought. I hope someone else does it. Then Mark Ellis from finance stepped forward with the swagger of a man who had consumed enough eggnog to believe he was destined for the stage. He raised his hand, and the crowd applauded with relief. Mark was a hero in the ancient sense. He was willing to sacrifice his dignity for the group. Mark grabbed the microphone, tapped it lightly, then smiled. This is for all of us. And for anyone who has ever refreshed their inbox like it was a slot machine. The room laughed. Mark chose a classic pop song, the kind everyone pretends they hate but secretly knows. The music started. Mark began singing. His voice was not good, but it was enthusiastic, which in karaoke is the highest form of quality. He gestured to the crowd. People clapped. People laughed. Mark moved on the stage like he had been waiting for this all year. Halfway through the song, Mark forgot the lyrics. He replaced them with sounds that resembled words. Nobody cared. If anything, it made the room happier. People love imperfection when it does not cost them anything. Mark finished the song with a dramatic flourish and a bow. The crowd applauded loudly, partly because it was funny, partly because it meant the first performance was over, and now the door was open for everyone else to make questionable choices. Mark stepped off the stage and immediately looked 10% more proud of himself. Olivia Hart clapped and shook her head. "You are a problem," Olivia said. Mark smiled. "I am a gift," Mark said. Tyler Shaw laughed quietly, looking more relaxed than earlier. Tyler had the expression of someone who had decided to stop resisting the night. Then another person stepped forward. It was Chloe Rivera. Of course it was Chloe Rivera. Chloe took the microphone with practiced ease. She did not look nervous. She looked like she had simply arrived at another meeting, except this meeting involved music and social risk. She selected a song that sounded festive but not childish. She began singing, and her voice was surprisingly good. The room shifted. People leaned in. The laughter softened into admiration. Dana made a quiet sound of respect. "She is talented." Mia nodded. "She knows how to win a room," Mia said. Kevin looked uneasy. "This is not a talent show." Dana looked at him kindly. "Kevin, everything is a talent show. You just pretend it is not." Chloe finished the song and smiled, tossing her hair slightly, casual and perfect. People cheered. Richard Hale clapped enthusiastically, pleased as if Chloe had just increased company revenue through vocal skill. Chloe handed the microphone back and stepped down, receiving compliments like she was collecting holiday cards. The karaoke line began to form. People who had been quiet all night suddenly found bravery. People who had been loud all night became louder. The room warmed further, the way a room warms when everyone forgets they will have to face each other later. A junior designer named Sarah Collins stepped forward next. Sarah was usually quiet with a gentle presence. At work, she spoke in careful sentences. At the party, she looked surprised to be standing on a stage. Sarah held the microphone with both hands, like Ethan had earlier held his drink. She picked a soft song, the kind that sits low and steady. Her voice was sweet, a little shaky at first, then calmer. The room grew quiet in a rare moment of collective kindness. People listened. Even Mark listened. When Sarah finished, the applause was warm and sincere. Sarah smiled, cheeks pink, then walked quickly off the stage as if she had just confessed something and needed a quiet corner. Ethan watched her with wide eyes. Mia noticed. "Oh no," Dana said softly, seeing the same thing. Kevin looked confused. "What?" Kevin asked. Dana answered gently. "A crush," Dana said. "A small what? The kind that becomes a rumor if it gets any air." Kevin looked alarmed again, as if rumors were a chemical spill. "We should not allow rumors." Mia patted his arm. "Kevin, rumors are not allowed, but they happen anyway, like winter." Ethan took a breath and did something brave. He walked toward the stage. I saw his shoulders tense as if he had to push himself forward. He glanced back once, maybe looking for an exit, maybe looking for confirmation he was not about to embarrass himself. Mia gave him a small nod, not a push, just a signal that he would survive. Ethan stepped onto the stage. He selected a duet option, then looked out into the crowd, scanning faces. He said, "Sarah Collins, would you sing with me?" The room made a collective sound, not loud but present, the sound of people smelling a story. Sarah looked startled. She laughed nervously. For a moment she hesitated. Then she stepped forward because the crowd was watching and because sometimes the safest way through discomfort is straight through it. Sarah joined Ethan on stage. The music began. They sang. It was not perfect. Ethan was not steady. Sarah was steadier. They found the rhythm together. Ethan smiled at her, then looked away, then smiled again. Sarah laughed once when Ethan missed a lyric, and the laugh made the room melt a little. It was sweet. It was harmless. It It was exactly the kind of thing that becomes a rumor anyway, because offices are built on stories the way cities are built on sidewalks. Dana leaned closer to me. "This is adorable," Dana whispered. "And it is also the beginning of a problem." Kevin looked pained. "This is not a problem," Kevin whispered. "This is human." Dana smiled. "Kevin just discovered humanity," Dana said softly. Mia watched the stage and smiled, but her smile was cautious. Mia liked kindness, but she also knew how quickly kindness can be twisted into gossip. When the duet ended, the applause was loud and bright. Ethan and Sarah stepped off the stage looking both proud and slightly overwhelmed. Ethan looked like a person who had survived a small storm and could not believe he was still standing. Sarah touched Ethan on the arm briefly, a friendly gesture, then walked toward the buffet area, still smiling. Ethan followed a moment later, looking like he wanted to speak but did not know what words to use. The karaoke continued, each song loosening the room further. A group from the data team sang something loud and silly. A project manager named James Porter tried a dramatic song and discovered he had dramatic feelings. Someone from sales did a holiday song and turned it into a performance, complete with hand gestures and a wink that made half the room laugh and the other half wonder what they had agreed to attend. Meanwhile, Richard Hale moved closer to the stage, energized by the feeling of fun. Richard liked being around laughter. He liked being around people who were impressed. He laughed loudly, clapped often, and called out encouragement in the way a leader does when trying to look approachable. At some point, someone handed Richard a drink. Richard took it with a smile that said he deserved it. Melissa noticed and shifted her position slightly, keeping Richard within her line of sight. Melissa did not hover. Melissa simply remained present, like a quiet safety rail. Andrew King and Lauren Pierce stood near each other again, closer than before. Their earlier polite conflict had not disappeared. It had taken a break, like a co-worker who steps away to breathe before returning to a meeting with a sharper tone. Andrew was holding his novelty trophy on the table beside his drink, as if it belonged there, as if it was not a small insult wrapped in glitter. Lauren spoke with a calm smile. "Are you having fun, Andrew?" Lauren asked. Andrew smiled back. "I am having a great time." He sounded like he was speaking for the record. Lauren nodded. "Good. Because it would be a shame if someone took things too personally tonight." Andrew blinked. "I do not take things personally." Lauren sipped her drink. "Of course not." They both smiled. They both looked like they wanted to win. Dana watched them with fascination. "They are going to do karaoke as a conflict resolution strategy." Kevin frowned. "That is not a strategy." Dana nodded. "Exactly. That is why they will choose it." And then it happened. Someone called out Andrew, encouraging him to sing. A few voices joined in. A chant formed, playful and insistent. Andrew hesitated, then smiled like a man deciding to control the narrative. If he refused, it would look like fear. If he accepted, it would look like confidence. Andrew stepped onto the stage. He chose a song that was safe, upbeat, and familiar. He sang with more skill than expected. Not amazing, but solid. He looked pleased with himself. He also looked like he was performing competence, which was his favorite kind. Halfway through, he gestured toward the crowd. "This one is for my team." Lauren clapped loudly, smile bright, eyes sharp. Andrew finished the song and accepted applause with a nod, like a person finishing a presentation. When he stepped down, someone called out Lauren next. Lauren smiled calmly and shook her head at first. The crowd insisted. Lauren looked at Andrew, then stepped forward. Lauren took the microphone and chose a song that sounded gentle but carried a message. She sang in a clear voice, controlled and steady. The lyrics were about independence, about not needing approval, about doing things your own way. Andrew smiled while she sang, but his smile tightened. When Lauren finished, the crowd cheered. Lauren bowed slightly and handed back the microphone. As she stepped off stage, Andrew leaned toward her and said something too quiet for most people to hear, but not quiet enough. "Well played," Andrew said. Lauren smiled. "Thank you. I enjoy clarity." That word clarity hung between them like a piece of tinsel with a sharp edge. Near us, Kevin exhaled as if he had been holding his breath for the entire song. "This is not healthy." Dana nodded. "This is office health." "It is not the same thing." The karaoke kept going. The line shrank and grew as people changed their minds. The room now had that soft disorder where everyone feels free, but not everyone remembers they are in public. Ethan and Sarah stood near the buffet. They talked quietly. I could not hear the words, but I could see the shape of it. Ethan was nervous and eager. Sarah was kind and cautious. They laughed once, then looked away, then laughed again. It was gentle. It was safe. It was exactly the sort of thing that would be described later with too much confidence by someone who was not there. Dana noticed too. "I hope they stay sweet." Mia nodded. "I will keep an eye on it." Kevin looked confused. "Why do you need to keep an eye on it?" Kevin asked. Mia answered simply, "Because people." Then came the microphone of doom moment. Not the karaoke itself, but what karaoke does to the brain. It makes people believe their thoughts are lyrics. It makes them believe the room is supportive. It makes them believe confession is the same as entertainment. A mid-level manager named Peter Walsh stepped onto the stage. Peter was usually polished, the kind of person who wrote careful emails and used phrases like, "to align on next steps." Peter held the microphone and laughed. "I am dedicating this to leadership," Peter said. Melissa shifted again, calm face, alert eyes. Peter chose a song that was playful and mildly rebellious. He sang with enthusiasm. The crowd laughed and clapped. Then, between lines, Peter spoke. "I have always thought," Peter said, "that our management style is like this song." The room laughed, expecting a joke. Peter continued, smiling too widely. "I have always thought, Richard," Peter said, "that you are inspiring, but also a little exhausting." The laughter thinned. Richard laughed too, but his laugh was a fraction slower. Peter kept going, voice buoyant. "And I have always thought," Peter said, "that we should all say what we really feel, because we are a family." Melissa closed her eyes for a brief moment, as if counting. Peter looked into the crowd, then said the sentence that should have stayed inside his head. "I have always thought you were the kind of boss who needs to be told no." The room went quiet in a way that felt gentle but significant. Not a harsh silence, a soft one. A silence where people suddenly remembered they had jobs. Richard smiled, still smiling, but his eyes narrowed slightly, not in anger, more in surprise. A boss does not often hear that sentence in public. Peter laughed, realizing too late that the room was no longer laughing with him. "Like you are visionary. You just do not love feedback." A few people laughed nervously. A few people stared at the floor. Someone coughed. Richard stepped forward slightly, still smiling. "Peter," Richard said, "thank you for your honesty." The word honesty sounded normal, but it carried a warning. Melissa moved closer to the stage, not rushing, just arriving. Peter finished the song with a shaky grin. The applause at the end was polite and uneven, like rain on different rooftops. Peter stepped off stage, cheeks flushed. He took a drink too quickly, as if trying to swallow the moment. Dana leaned toward me. "He just unwrapped a performance review in public," Dana whispered. Kevin looked ill. "That should not have happened," Kevin whispered. Mia spoke softly. "It happened." Now we managed the aftermath. Richard clapped again and raised his hand slightly. "All right." "That was—" He paused, spirited. The room laughed lightly, grateful for a bridge back to normal. Richard smiled. "Let us keep it fun," Richard said, "and respectful." Melissa nodded once, satisfied. That sentence was the repair. The music started again, the karaoke line reformed, people decided to sing safer songs. People decided to laugh at safer jokes, but the moment had been released into the air. It could not be taken back. It would drift through the room, then drift through Monday morning, then drift into the company mythology. I watched Peter retreat toward a corner where he tried to look casual. I watched Richard move away from the stage, laughter returning to his face, but with a new alertness underneath. Mia leaned toward me. "That is going to echo." Dana nodded. "Yes, it is going to echo. But it is also a little true," Kevin whispered. "We should not say that," Kevin said. Dana smiled. "Kevin," Dana said, "you do not have to say it. The room already heard it." The karaoke continued, but the room now carried a new softness. Not its warmth, awareness. The kind of awareness that makes people drink water and check their own volume. The kind of awareness that arrives right before someone decides to step outside for air. Chapter 6. Cold air, warm gossip, and the almost moment. Stepping outside the plaza felt like stepping out of a crowded story and into a quieter tuh. The air was cold and clean, the kind that makes your thoughts line up neatly for a moment. The streetlights on Fifth Avenue painted the sidewalk in soft gold, and the city moved with its usual confidence, even at night. A few people had gathered near the entrance, pretending they just needed fresh air, not emotional space. They stood in small clusters, coats pulled tight, voices lower. In the cold, gossip becomes a whisper again. It has to. The air does not tolerate shouting. I stepped out because I needed a reset. Not a dramatic reset, just a breath that did not taste like perfume and ambition. Mia had done the same, and Dana followed, though Dana treated cold air like a suggestion. Kevin came too, because Kevin believed in supervision. They stood under the awning, the hotel lights behind them, the city in front of them. Dana looked up at the building. "This place is beautiful," Dana said. "It makes you forget you are here with co-workers." Mia nodded. "For a few minutes, yes," Mia said. Kevin adjusted his coat. "We should all pace ourselves," Kevin said. Dana smiled. "Kevin," Dana said, "you are pacing for all of us." We stood quietly. The city made its own soft music. Cars rolled by, a taxi slowed, then moved on. Somewhere down the block, laughter rose and fell like waves. Mia glanced back through the glass doors. "I am going to check on Ethan," Mia said. Dana nodded. "Please do," Dana said. He looked like a person who would apologize to a chair. Kevin frowned. "He seems nice," Kevin said. "He is nice," Mia said. "That is why the night can hurt him." Mia stepped back inside, moving with calm purpose. Dana remained outside, looking at the street as if it held secrets. Kevin stood beside me, still tense, as if the cold air might make the party behave. After a moment, Dana tilted her head. "I am going to walk a little," Dana said. "Just to the corner and back. I need movement." Kevin looked concerned. "Do not wander," Kevin said. Dana gave him a gentle look. "Kevin," Dana said, "I am an adult. I will not fall into a manhole." Kevin opened his mouth, then closed it again, as if remembering he was at a party and not in a safety training video. Dana walked a short distance, sequins flashing under streetlight like a quiet comet. She moved with confidence, hands in pockets, breathing in cold air like it was medicine. Kevin stayed under the awning. I stayed too, because sometimes it helps to be near someone who wants the world to be orderly. Kevin is a small anchor. He does not stop storms, but he makes you feel like storms are being documented. Through the glass doors I saw movement, people shifting, people laughing, people leaning close. The party continued, but the outside space felt like a separate room, calmer and kinder. Then Ethan appeared at the entrance. He stepped outside slowly, coat half on, looking like he had forgotten how to exist without a script. He saw Kevin and me, and he smiled with relief. Ethan approached, hands tucked in his sleeves. "Hi," Ethan said. Kevin nodded politely. "Ethan," Kevin said. "How are you?" Ethan exhaled and looked at the street. "I am," Ethan said. "I am okay. I think." That was honest. Honesty outside feels safer. Ethan glanced back toward the doors. "Everyone is having fun," Ethan said, "I think." Kevin nodded. "They are," Kevin said, "but fun is a broad category." Ethan smiled faintly. "I sang," Ethan said. "I cannot believe I sang." Kevin looked at him with respect, like Ethan had completed a difficult certification. That was brave, Kevin said. Ethan blinked, surprised. Thank you, Ethan said. I was terrified. Kevin nodded again. That was also correct, Kevin said. Ethan laughed softly. The laugh sounded like relief. We stood quietly for a moment. The cold air kept things gentle. Then Sarah Collins stepped outside, pulling her coat on, cheeks still pink from singing. She saw Ethan and paused. Hi, Sarah said. Ethan straightened slightly, nervous energy returning. Hi, Ethan said. Sarah looked at Kevin and me. I just needed air, Sarah said. Kevin nodded in his practical way. Fresh air is good, Kevin said. Sarah smiled politely at Kevin, then looked back at Ethan. That was fun, Sarah said. Ethan nodded quickly. Yes, Ethan said. It was fun. I mean, it was terrifying, but fun. Sarah laughed. It was a small laugh, warm and sincere. They stood close enough to speak quietly, but not too close. Their body language was careful. Two people standing in a cold city night, trying to be normal while knowing the office was watching through invisible windows. I moved a step away, giving them space. Kevin did not, because Kevin does not understand invisible windows in the same way. Kevin stood like a polite lamppost. Sarah looked toward the street. It is pretty out here, Sarah said. Ethan nodded. Yeah, Ethan said. It feels calmer. Sarah glanced at him. Do you want to walk a little? Sarah asked. Just to the corner and back. Ethan hesitated, then nodded. Yes, Ethan said. That would be nice. They began walking slowly along the sidewalk, staying close to the hotel, moving like two people trying not to make a scene. Kevin watched them go. They should be careful, Kevin said. I said it is just the corner. Kevin nodded. Still, Kevin said. People misinterpret things. And there it was, the core of it. The office party is not only what happens, it is what people believe happened. Sarah and Ethan reached the corner, near the glow of a street light and the soft movement of traffic. They stopped, talking quietly. Their faces turned toward each other. They laughed once. Sarah touched Ethan on the arm again, a gentle, friendly touch. It was not dramatic. It was not reckless. It was human. But in an office story, a gentle touch becomes a headline. They stood close for a moment, and there was an almost moment. You could see it from the way Ethan leaned slightly forward, from the way Sarah did not step back, but did not step closer either. The almost moment hovered like a snowflake that does not land. Sarah spoke, and Ethan listened. Sarah smiled, then glanced away, then looked back. She seemed kind and careful, like she wanted to be honest without making promises. Ethan nodded slowly as if receiving instructions for living. Then Sarah took a small step back, not rejecting him, just setting a boundary. A gentle one. A boundary that said, this is sweet, but let us not turn it into a story we cannot manage. Ethan nodded again and his shoulders relaxed. He smiled, not embarrassed, just grateful. They started walking back toward the hotel. Kevin exhaled. That could have been worse, Kevin said. I glanced at him. Worse how? I asked. Kevin frowned, searching for words. People could have, Kevin said. Misunderstood. Yes, I said. Kevin nodded, satisfied that we agreed the universe was dangerous. Dana returned to the awning, cheeks bright from cold air. I walked, Dana said. I did not fall into a manhole. Kevin looked relieved. Good, Kevin said. Dana glanced towards Sarah and Ethan as they approached. Oh, Dana said softly. They are doing the sweet thing. Kevin blinked. The sweet thing? Kevin asked. Dana nodded. The careful sweet thing, Dana said. The kind you want to protect. Sarah and Ethan reached the entrance. They paused under the awning. Sarah smiled at Ethan and said something I could not hear. Ethan nodded. They both looked calmer than before. Then Sarah headed back inside. Ethan lingered a moment watching her go. His expression was tender and worried, like he wanted to be hopeful, but did not trust hope yet. Mia came back outside then, stepping under the awning with her calm face and observant eyes. I checked on him, Mia said, glancing at Ethan. Ethan nodded quickly. I am okay, Ethan said. I think I am okay. Mia smiled. Good, Mia said. That is enough for tonight. Ethan looked at her, grateful. Inside the ballroom, the music rose again and the party continued to try to be festive. But it had changed. After the karaoke moment with Peter, the room had become more aware of consequences. People were still drinking, but with slightly more caution. People were laughing, but with slightly more care. That is when the other problem happened. Not outside. Inside, we saw it through the glass first. A small cluster near the bar, a posture shift, a hand gesture that looked too familiar. Richard was speaking to Chloe. Chloe was close, smiling brightly. Richard leaned in to hear her, and Chloe leaned in too, and the space between them looked a little too private for a boss and an employee in a room full of eyes. It might have been innocent. It might have been simply loud music. But offices do not reward innocence. They reward narratives. Dana made a quiet sound. "Oh no," Dana said. Kevin stared. "That is," Kevin began. Mia kept her voice calm. "It is not necessarily anything," Mia said. "But it looks like something." Dana nodded. "It looks like a story," Dana said, "and stories do not ask permission." Through the glass, Chloe touched Richard on the forearm, a brief friendly touch. Richard laughed. Chloe laughed too. Richard leaned closer again, and Chloe said something that made him smile in a pleased way. Then Chloe said something with a little too much warmth. I could not hear it, but I saw Richard react, his smile tightening, then smoothing again. Chloe looked amused, as if she had offered a compliment that was bold. Kevin shook his head. "This is exactly why we need boundaries," Kevin said. Dana looked at him. "Kevin," Dana said, "boundaries exist. The problem is that some people treat them like optional holiday decorations." Mia watched the scene with steady eyes. "Melissa will handle it," Mia said. As if summoned by her name, Melissa appeared near the bar. She stepped into the space with calm authority, smiling pleasantly. She spoke to Richard briefly. Richard nodded, still smiling, and shifted his position away from Chloe slightly. Chloe laughed and turned to greet someone else, as if nothing had happened. Melissa remained a moment longer, then moved away, scanning the room again, protecting the company from itself. Dana exhaled. "Melissa is carrying the night," Dana said. Kevin nodded with deep respect. "Human resources is the real leadership," Kevin said. Mia smiled. "Sometimes." Ethan stood quietly beside us, watching the glass doors, watching Sarah inside, watching the room. He looked calmer than earlier. Not fully calm, but steadier. The almost moment at the corner had not been dramatic, but it had been meaningful. It had given him something better than a rumor. It had given him a small piece of clarity. He took a breath. "I should go back in," Ethan said. Mia nodded. "Eat," Mia said. "Water. Then you can decide what you want from the rest of the night." Ethan nodded and went inside. Dana watched him go. "He is going to be fine," Dana said. Kevin looked uncertain. "Will he?" Kevin asked. Mia answered with calm confidence. "Yes," Mia said. "He will be fine, and if he is not, we will help." We stood under the awning a moment longer, letting the cold air settle the room inside our heads. The city lights were steady, the street was calm, the party noise behind the glass was softer from here, like a distant radio. Then Mia checked her phone. "My 2 hours are nearly done." Dana smiled. "I respect you, but I am not leaving yet." Kevin looked relieved and worried at the same time. "I will stay a bit longer too." "Of course you will," Dana said. We shared a small, quiet laugh, the kind that does not demand attention. Then we went back inside, stepping from cold clarity into warm complexity, returning to the room where stories were still being written in real time. Chapter 7. The Boss Roast That Was Not Scheduled. When we stepped back into the ballroom, the air felt thicker, not in a bad way, used fuller. More laughter, more warmth, more stories being built on the spot. The karaoke continued, but the choices had become safer. Fewer people reached for rebellion. More people reached for nostalgia. That is how the room pretended it had learned something. It did not want to learn, it wanted to keep floating. Richard Hale was still smiling, still moving through the crowd, still doing that thing bosses do when they try to look relaxed while also collecting information. He chatted near the bar with a small group of managers. He nodded often, he laughed in the right places, he looked pleased, like a man who believed the night was going well because nobody had fallen off the stage. Melissa Grant drifted through the crowd like a calm lighthouse. She spoke to people briefly. She checked faces. She noticed who was loud and who was leaning too close to someone else. Melissa did not stop fun. She simply arranged it into a shape that would not require paperwork. Mia stood near the edge of the room, looking at her phone. She had not left yet, which meant she was doing math in her head. How long until it is polite to go? How long until it is dangerous to stay? Dana was still here too, fueled by curiosity and snacks. Kevin remained beside us, tense but committed, like a person supervising a toddler birthday party for adults. Ethan and Sarah were back inside, talking with a small group near the buffet. Ethan looked calmer now. Sarah looked kind and steady. They stayed close enough to be friendly, far enough to be safe. It was careful and sweet, and it made me hope the office would leave them alone. The office never does, but hope is still a hobby people enjoy. The music shifted again, and someone announced there would be another short moment at the microphone. A brief toast, they said. A fun little recognition, they said. That phrase, fun little recognition, is what you say right before something becomes memorable for the wrong reasons. Richard stepped toward the stage, energized. He took the microphone and smiled. "All right," Richard said. "I just want to say again, thank you." The room clapped lightly. People smiled. People leaned in. Richard said he was proud. Richard said the year had been strong. Richard said he believed the team was unstoppable. He said the word unstoppable with the delight of a man who had never tried to stop a spreadsheet from crashing 5 minutes before a meeting. Then Richard did something that seemed kind. He said he wanted to invite anyone to share a quick thought, something they appreciated, something they wanted to celebrate, something to keep us all connected. Melissa, across the room, froze for half a second, then recovered. The recovery was impressive, but I saw it. A tiny pause, a tiny moment where she considered the future and did not like it. Inviting spontaneous speeches at a holiday party is like leaving a box of markers in a room full of children and saying, "Decorate the walls." It sounds creative. It ends with regret. Richard smiled warmly and looked out at the room. "Anyone," he said. "Do not be shy." For a moment, nobody moved. People smiled. People looked at their drinks. People pretended they were deeply interested in a napkin. Then a hand rose. Grace Bennett. Grace was a senior consultant who had been with the company longer than most people had been adults. She was calm, precise, and quietly powerful. In meetings she spoke rarely, but when she did, everyone listened. Grace had a voice that could lower the temperature in a room without raising her volume. Grace stepped up to the stage with a polite smile. She took the microphone and looked at Richard. Richard smiled back, pleased. He expected praise. Everyone expects praise, especially when they offer a microphone. "I will keep it short." The room relaxed a little. People love that sentence even when it is a lie. Grace smiled slightly. "I appreciate many things about this team. I appreciate the work. I appreciate the support. I appreciate that we show up for clients even when the timeline is unrealistic." A few laughs, a few nods. Grace continued. "I also appreciate that we can be honest with one another, because honesty, in the right dose, is a kindness." That line landed softly. It sounded gentle. It also sounded like a setup. Grace turned her gaze back to Richard. "Richard, you have done a lot this year." Richard nodded, smile bright. Grace continued, voice steady. "You have pushed us. You have challenged us. You have raised expectations," Grace said. Richard looked proud, like a man receiving a certificate. Grace paused just long enough for the room to lean in. "And sometimes," Grace said, "you have forgotten that people are not machines." The room made a small sound. Not a gasp, not a shout. Just the collective inhale of people hearing a truth said politely. Richard blinked. His smile stayed in place, but it shifted. The corners held, The middle softened. Grace kept her tone calm. "We are good at what we do," Grace said. "We are resilient. We are creative. We can deliver under pressure." She looked around the room, letting people feel included. "But if we want to keep being good, we have to treat recovery as part of performance, not a reward, not an afterthought, part of the work." The room was quiet now, listening. Some people nodded. Some people stared at their drinks, suddenly interested in the concept of glass. Grace turned back to Richard. "So my appreciation tonight is this," Grace said. "Thank you for the ambition. Thank you for the belief." She smiled, warm but firm. "And please remember that Noah can run at full speed forever. Not even in a suit that fits perfectly." That last line was light enough to make people laugh, and they did. Soft laughter. Relief laughter. The kind that says thank you for making it safe. Richard laughed too, but his laugh was different now. Still pleasant, still controlled, but it carried a small weight. Grace handed back the microphone and stepped off the stage with the calm grace of someone who had just corrected a plane flight path without spill her drink. Dana leaned toward me. "That was beautiful," Dana whispered. "That was a scolding with moisturizer." Kevin looked stunned. "That was," Kevin said. "That was honest." Mia nodded. "That was leadership," Mia said. Melissa, across the room, looked at Grace with deep respect, and also the tired gratitude of a person who did not have to deliver that message herself. Richard stepped back to the microphone, smile in place. "Grace, thank you." That was, he paused, thoughtful. The word thoughtful was a safe word. It did not admit anything, it did not deny anything. It created space. Richard nodded. "I appreciate that. Truly." He looked out at the room and laughed lightly. "And I hear you." The room relaxed again. People clapped. The moment could have ended there, clean and useful, but the microphone was still open. The room had tasted honesty, and honesty can be addictive when it feels brave. Another person stepped forward. Peter Walsh. Yes, Peter Walsh, the same Mo who had already tested gravity with the karaoke comment earlier. Peter took the microphone, cheeks still pink, eyes bright with the confidence of a man who believed he was on a roll. "I just want to say, I love this company." A few polite laughs. Peter continued, "I love the people. I love the work. I love the clients." Someone near the bar muttered something that sounded like "sure," and someone else laughed. Peter smiled wider. "And I love that our leadership is so open to feedback." Looking at Richard. The room made that small sound again, the one that says, "Please do not." Peter went on anyway. "Richard, you are a visionary, but you do send emails at," he paused, "late hours." A few people laughed. It was true and safe enough to laugh at. Peter nodded, encouraged, and sometimes it feels like you want her to have balance, but only as a concept. The laughter thinned. Melissa took one step forward, calm face, ready hands. Peter lifted his eyebrows like a man enjoying his own courage. "I mean, you say wellness, but then the calendar says otherwise. Silence, soft but real." Richard smiled. It was still a smile, but it was now the kind of smile that could file a document. Peter noticed the silence, but too late. He tried to save it. "I am joking," Peter said quickly. "Mostly." That word "mostly" fell like a pebble in a quiet pond. Dana whispered. "Stop talking," Dana whispered, as if Peter might hear her through the universe. Kevin whispered. "He is going to unalive his career," Kevin whispered. I glanced at Kevin. "We are not using that word," I said softly, "because my brain is trained for safety even while watching chaos." Kevin blinked, then nodded, deeply serious. "Right," Kevin said. "He is going to gently end his career." Peter cleared his throat. "But really, it is all love. It is holiday spirit." Melissa moved closer to the stage, smile calm. Richard stepped forward slightly and raised a hand, friendly. "Peter," Richard said, "thank you. I appreciate it." The word appreciate did not mean appreciate, it meant stop. Richard continued, still smiling, voice warm. "Let us keep tonight focused on celebration," Richard said. not policy discussions. The room laughed lightly, relief laughter again. Melissa leaned toward Peter and said something quietly, something that made Peter nod and hand back the microphone. Peter stepped away quickly, drink in hand, eyes suddenly busy looking for anywhere else to be. Dana exhaled. Peter is a cautionary tale. Kevin looked sad. He is a nice person. He just has, he searched for a word, enthusiasm. Mia said nothing at first, then she spoke softly. He has a need to be seen. Tonight is not a safe mirror. Richard returned to the microphone. All right, Richard said, enough speeches. Let us get back to fun. The room clapped. Richard lifted his glass. To you all. To your work, to your health, to your time. That last word, time, was not accidental. Richard had heard Grace. Richard might even remember it tomorrow. The office would see. Melissa nodded slightly satisfied. The moment had been repaired. People raised their glasses and toasted. The music rose again. The room loosened back into movement. But the roast had happened. Not a planned roast, a gentle what, a polite sigh. The kind that feels like care and also correction. Richard moved away from the stage and returned to the crowd, laughing, shaking hands, rebuilding his social weather. But he was different now, not worse, just more aware. Grace returned to her table calm and composed, as if she had simply adjusted a projector. People began telling each other what happened in whispers. Did you hear Grace? She was so calm. She said it so nicely. That was bold. That was needed. That was risky. That was perfect. And then, because officers cannot hold what truth at a time, they added Peter to the story. And Peter, oh my gosh, he did it again. He cannot stop. Someone please take the microphone away from him forever. Mia glanced at her phone again. I should go, Mia said. Dana frowned. You should, Dana said. You are wise. Kevin looked torn. If Mia leaves, Kevin said, who will be responsible? Mia smiled at him. Kevin, you will. Kevin blinked. Me. Mia nodded. You already are, Mia said. You just did not know it was a job. Dana patted Kevin on the shoulder. Congratulations, Dana said. You are promoted to party guardian. Kevin looked like he wanted a handbook. Mia hugged Dana, then hugged me, calm and quick, then nodded at Kevin. Tet me if it gets weird. Dana smiled. It is already weird. But yes. Mia left, slipping out with the quiet elegance of someone who understood limits. The room continued without her. It always does. And that is the lesson. Parties do not need you. They simply use you if you stay. I watched Ethan and Sarah still talking, still gentle. I watched Andrew carry his novelty trophy with a smile that did not reach his eyes. I watched Lauren laugh with a small group, looking calm and victorious. I watched Chloe glide through the room like a professional. I watched Richard talk with Grace briefly. Richard nodded, listening. Grace spoke calmly. Richard laughed once, softer than before, then nodded again. It looked like a real conversation. It looked like the kind of moment that might matter later if Richard remembered his own words. Kevin stood beside me, scanning the room like a security guard with empathy. Dana sipped her drink and smiled. The night is entering its final form. Kevin swallowed. What is its final form? Kevin asked. Dana looked toward the bar, toward the laughter, toward the soft mess. Regret with garnish. The music played, the drinks poured. The room breathed in and out, steady and loud, and somewhere inside that steady noise, the next mistake was already stretching. Chapter 8. The Taxi Line and the Heroic Exit. By the time the party reached its late phase, the room had a softer focus. Light seemed warmer, voices seemed louder, people seemed braver about touching shoulders and leaning close. Time became slippery, the way it does when your brain stops counting consequences. The staff continued to move with calm professionalism, clearing plates, refilling water, maintaining the illusion that everything was under control. Hotel staff are the true witnesses of human behavior. They see everything and react to nothing. Kevin stayed near the edge of the room with me, posture still upright, eyes scanning. Dana wandered and returned, collecting small stories like souvenirs. I saw Peter Walsh in a corner speaking to Melissa Grant. Melissa looked calm, which meant she was doing heavy work with a light face. Peter looked embarrassed, which meant he had reached the part of the night where bravery turns into memory. I saw Richard laughing near the bar again, smiling at everyone, rebuilding his image. The boss can recover quickly. The boss has practice. I saw Grace Bennett talking with a small group, composed and warm. Grace looked like she had done what she needed to do and now allowed herself to enjoy the rest. I saw Andrew King arguing politely with Lauren Pierce again, their smile still sharp, their sentences still carefully wrapped. That tension did not explode, it simply continued, like a low hum. And then Dana returned with that look, the look that says, I have discovered something. Dana leaned toward me and spoke quietly. We have a hallway situation, Dana said. Kevin turned immediately, alarmed. What kind of situation? Kevin asked. Dana replied with calm seriousness. A too intimate situation, Dana said. Not graphic, just regrettable. Kevin blinked. Where? Kevin asked. Dana pointed with her chin toward a corridor near the restrooms and a set of doors that likely led to a quieter area. Over there. Near the hallway that people assume is private because they want it to be. Kevin looked as if he had been assigned a mission. We should intervene, Kevin said. Dana nodded. Yes, Dana said, but gently. Nobody needs drama, they need a jacket and a reality check. I followed them, because sometimes the safest thing is to be present, like an extra chair in a room. As we approached the corridor, the party noise faded. The air was cooler, the lights were dimmer, the carpet muffled steps. It felt like the backstage area of the evening, where people go when they want to forget the audience exists. And there, near a wall with tasteful art, stood two co-workers. One was James Porter, a project manager with dramatic feelings. The other was Natalie Reed from Client Services, bright and charming, with a laugh that could turn a room. They were standing too close. Not dangerous, just closer than a hallway needs. James had one hand on the wall, Natalie had her hand on his arm. They were speaking quietly, with the intensity of people who believed the moment was private. It was not private. It was never private. Dana sighed softly, not judgmental, just tired. All right. Kevin straightened his shoulders. Hello, Kevin said, voice polite and firm. James and Natalie froze like two people caught standing in front of an open refrigerator. Natalie laughed nervously. Oh, hi, Kevin. James blinked, then tried to smile. Hey, Kevin, James said. We were just... He paused, talking. Dana nodded warmly. Talking is great. The hallway is not. Natalie looked down, embarrassed. We did not meet. Kevin raised a hand slightly, calm. It is fine. But you should probably... He searched for a word, relocate, Dana added gently. And drink water, Dana said, and maybe find chairs. Chairs help. James nodded quickly, grateful for the chance to escape with dignity. Right, James said. Yes, chairs. Natalie exhaled. Thank you. Honestly. Dana patted her arm lightly, friendly. No shame, Dana said, just timing. They separated slightly, the hallway breathing again. James and Natalie walked back toward the ballroom, keeping a respectful distance that said, we are co-workers who definitely did not do anything that will be discussed later. Kevin watched them go with the satisfied relief of a man who had prevented a small disaster. Dana looked at Kevin. You were good. Kevin blinked. I was, Kevin said, not unkindly, surprised. Dana smiled. You have hidden skills. Like a polite firefighter. We returned to the ballroom and the music hit us again, louder after the quiet. The crowd looked blurrier now, more relaxed, more tired, more willing to believe the night was a safe dream. But the night was ending, and that is when things get tricky. Endings bring urgency. People start making decisions quickly. People try to squeeze meaning out of the last hour. Near the bar, I saw Chloe Rivera talking to someone from sales, laughing brightly. Richard was across the room now, speaking with Grace and two other senior people. The distance between Chloe and Richard looked intentional. Good. The story had been edited. Ethan and Sarah were still fine. They were now with a slightly larger group, which is the safest form of sweetness in an office. Group sweetness is harder to gossip about. Not impossible, just harder. Melissa continued her rounds. She looked a little tired now. Even calm people have limits. The karaoke had ended, thank goodness. The stage sat quiet again, microphone resting, like a dragon put back to sleep. Dana returned to our corner and checked her phone. "It is late." Kevin nodded. "We should start leaving before it becomes worse." Dana looked at him kindly. "Kevin, it has already been worse. Now it becomes logistical." And right on cue, the room began to thin. People said goodbyes. People hugged a little too long. People promised they would totally grab coffee next week, which is how humans lie without meaning harm. A few groups left together, giggling, stepping into coats, stepping into cold air. Some people left alone the way you leave when you want to avoid conversation about what happened. I decided it was time. I do not enjoy the last stage of a party. The last stage is where energy becomes messy, and people start telling each other truths that should be delivered on a Tuesday afternoon with water nearby. Kevin agreed, eager to exit while dignity still existed. Dana hesitated. "I want to see the taxi line." "Taxi lines are where apologies are born." Kevin sighed. "Fine. But we leave in 5 minutes." Dana smiled. Kevin just invented a boundary. I am proud. We went to coat check. The coat check attendant handed us our coats with the same neutral face as before. He had likely seen everything, he had likely heard everything. He remained calm anyway, which is either professionalism or a superpower. As we pulled on coats, we heard laughter behind us and a louder voice, someone saying, "No, listen, I just need you to understand, that sentence never leads to peace." We stepped outside into the cold New York City night. The air was sharp and clean. The street was busy. The plaza entrance glowed behind us, warm and golden, like it had not hosted anything complicated at all. A line of people waited for taxis near the curb. The line was not chaotic yet, but it had a soft instability. Some people were too loud, some people were too quiet, some people tried to act normal while their eyes floated. Dana stood beside me watching. "Here it is." The end credits. Kevin scanned the line. "We should keep it orderly." Dana nodded solemnly. "Kevin is now running transportation," Dana said. In the taxi line I saw Mark Ellis and Olivia Hart. Mark looked cheerful and wobbly. Olivia looked steady and amused, the way a friend looks when she has decided to manage someone else. Mark was explaining something to Olivia with great seriousness. "I told them," Mark said. "I told them that the budget is a feeling." Olivia laughed. "Mark, budget is not a feeling, it is a fact." Mark shook his head. "No," Mark said. "Budget is a mood." Olivia patted his arm. "Okay," Olivia said. "Get in the taxi. Mood yourself into the back seat." Tyler Shaw stood nearby, quiet, holding his phone, waiting for his ride. Tyler looked like he had had exactly the right amount of fun. Tyler was rare. Peter Walsh stood with 2 colleagues, face pale, voice low. Peter looked like a man who had just remembered he had spoken into a microphone. His colleagues were speaking gently to him, like nurses in a calm room. Richard Hale was not outside yet. Bosses often leave through side doors or later when the line is thinner. Bosses prefer not to be part of the crowd. It reminds them they are part of the species. Melissa was outside though, speaking quietly with someone who looked too unsteady. Melissa had not left her role. Melissa would probably keep doing her role until she arrived home and stared at a wall in silence. Dana watched Melissa with deep respect. "Melissa deserves a holiday bonus." Kevin nodded. "Melissa deserves a medal." Then I saw James Porter and Natalie Reed emerge from the lobby. They stood separately, pretending they had not been in a hallway earlier. They were now doing the careful dance of polite distance. They talked to different people. They avoided eye contact. They looked like actors in the final scene of a play, trying to deliver lines while not stepping on props. Dana leaned toward me. "They're going to wake up tomorrow and remember nothing," Dana said. "Then they will remember everything." Kevin said nothing. Kevin was too busy scanning for other risks. A taxi pulled up, someone got in, the line moved, the city continued. Then the apology happened. Andrew King and Lauren Pierce came outside together, still smiling, still tense. They joined the taxi line near us, speaking in low voices. Their conflict had followed them out like a persistent smell. Andrew said something sharp but quiet. Lauren replied with calm precision. Andrew laughed once, not happy. Lauren smiled, not warm. Dana whispered. "They are still going," Dana whispered. Kevin whispered back. "They should stop," Kevin whispered. And then Andrew said it, slightly louder than he intended. "I am just tired of being treated like I am the problem." A couple of people nearby glanced over. Not staring, just noticing. Noticing is enough. Lauren inhaled. "Andrew," Lauren said, "you brought a trophy that says Best Micromanager to a party." Andrew stared at her. Lauren continued, voice calm, not cruel. "You are not the problem," Lauren said. "But you do create problems and then act surprised when people react." The words hung in the cold air. They were not shouted. They were simply spoken. "That can be worse." Andrew opened his mouth, then closed it. He looked suddenly tired, not defensive, just worn. Lauren softened her tone slightly. "I am not trying to ruin your night. I just want you to hear it." Andrew exhaled. "I hear it," Andrew said. "I do." His voice was quieter now. "And I do not always know how to stop," Andrew added. That was a real moment, a tiny human moment, and because it was real, it made everyone around them pretend they were not listening. Lauren nodded. "Okay," Lauren said, "that is a start." A taxi pulled up. Andrew stepped back and gestured for Lauren to go first. Lauren hesitated, then got in. Andrew stayed outside, waiting for the next whine, looking at the street like it might offer answers. Dana whispered. "That was almost healthy," Dana whispered. Kevin nodded, impressed. "That was surprisingly mature." Dana smiled. "Do not worry. Someone else will balance it out with nonsense." Right on cue, Mark Ellis shouted something cheerful from another taxi. "Love you all," Mark said. Olivia pulled him inside and shut the door. The taxi drove off. Dana laughed quietly, satisfied. Balance. Kevin checked his phone. "We should go." Dana nodded. "Yes." Before the city witnesses anything else, a taxi arrived. Kevin offered Dana the first seat like a gentleman. Dana declined. "I am walking a bit," Dana said. "I need to cool down." Kevin looked alarmed. "It is cold." Dana smiled. "That is the point." Kevin got into the taxi, still scanning through the window like a man leaving a scene he will later review in his mind. I stayed outside. Dana began walking south, toward brighter streets. The city was awake, lights reflecting on windows, cars rolling steadily. The air felt like a clean page. I walked with Dana for a block, then another, letting the noise behind us fade. The plaza glow disappeared. The party became a memory already rewriting itself. Dana looked up at the lights. "You know." "Most of it was fine." I nodded. "Most of it." Dana smiled. "And the parts that were not fine were at least interesting." That was the thing. Office parties are never purely good or bad. They are simply revealing. They show you people with fewer filters, which can be funny, and can be tender, and can be embarrassing, and can be a little sad. We reached an intersection where the light changed and people crossed quickly, bundled in coats, faces calm and busy. Far ahead, Times Square glowed like a bright idea nobody asked for. Dana stopped. "I'm going to head home." I nodded. "Good plan." Dana looked at me. "Are you okay?" Dana asked. I said yes, I was. I was tired, but calm. The night had been loud, but the city was quiet enough to smooth it. Dana smiled. "See you Monday." I nodded. "Yes," I said. "Monday." Dana walked away into the city, sequins fading into shadow. I continued alone for a few minutes, breathing cold air, letting my thoughts settle. Behind me, somewhere back at the hotel, people were still leaving, still hugging, still promising things they would not do. Somewhere, Melissa was still making sure nobody fell into a story too deep. Somewhere, Richard was still smiling, still think about Grace's words, still deciding what to remember. I walked toward the brighter streets and let the night fade into something softer. The party was over, the consequences were not. But for now, the city was calm, and the air was clean, and I could pretend, just for a moment, that everything would be simple by morning. Chapter 9. Monday Morning and the Delicate Art of Pretending. Monday morning arrived with the quiet cruelty of routine. It did not care about your memories. It did not care about your headache. It did not care that you had watched a managing director get gently corrected in public, or that you had seen a hallway moment that should have stayed in private. Monday morning simply arrived, clean and bright, and demanded you open your laptop like nothing had happened. The city outside looked normal, the sidewalk traffic moved, the coffee shops served coffee. The world continued with its calm rhythm, and that calm rhythm made the weekend feel like a strange dream you had in a hotel bed with too many pillows. When I walked into the office, the air felt different. Not dramatic, just careful, like a room after a storm where nobody wants to mention the thunder. People arrived earlier than usual. That is always the first sign. Early arrival is not productivity. It is narrative control. It is people showing up before the story gets told, so they can place themselves in the story as responsibly as possible. Mia Park was already at her desk, looking fresh and calm, because Mia left early and slept like a person who respects her own limits. She had a mug of tea, and the steady eyes of someone who had already decided what to remember and what to release. Dana Price arrived a little later than Mia, but still earlier than most. Dana looked fine too, though her sequins had been replaced by a sweater that suggested repentance. Dana made eye contact with me and gave a small smile that said, "We survived." Kevin Brooks arrived exactly on time, as if time itself was a rule he respected personally. Kevin looked slightly pale but upright. He carried a folder that made him look safe, as if paper could protect you from memory. Around the office, people moved quietly. Keyboards clicked. Coffee cups clinked. Greetings were warm but cautious. "Hi, how was your weekend?" someone asked, voice bright. "Good," someone answered, a little too quickly. Nobody said, "How was the party?" Nobody said, "What do you remember?" Nobody said, "Did you hear what Peter said?" Nobody said, "Did you see the hallway?" The office is not brave on Monday mornings. The office is polite. Gossip does not begin as gossip. It begins as careful checking. "Did you get home okay?" Olivia Hart asked Mark Ellis near the kitchen. Mark nodded, cheeks red. "Yes," Mark said. "I think I apologized to a taxi driver." Olivia sipped her coffee. "That tracks." Mark looked around, then lowered his voice. "Did I do karaoke?" Mark asked. Olivia stared at him. "Mark, you did karaoke like you were being paid." Mark exhaled. "Okay," Mark said. "That is fine. I can live with that." Across the room, Peter Walsh arrived with the careful expression of a person entering a courtroom. He sat at his desk and opened his laptop. He did not speak to anyone for several minutes. He looked like he was trying to disappear through effort. Melissa Grant walked in carrying her usual calm. She looked slightly more tired than normal, which in Melissa terms still looked professional and composed. She greeted a few people, then headed toward her desk, posture steady, eyes focused. Melissa had survived another holiday event. She would now spend the day documenting in her mind what could become a problem. Richard Hale arrived last, which was not unusual for him. Richard often arrived after others, because a managing director can treat time like a flexible concept. He walked in with a smile that looked slightly softer than usual, like a man who had woken up with a new awareness and hoped it would not be tested immediately. Richard greeted people with warm energy. "Good morning, team," he said. "Hope you had a great weekend." The word weekend landed like a blanket placed over a mess. The office accepted it gratefully. A few people returned his greeting with extra enthusiasm, the way you greet a boss when you want them to believe you are stable. Richard moved toward his office. As he passed Grace Bennett, he paused. He said something quietly, a private greeting. Grace nodded, calm and neutral. Richard smiled and continued. That small moment told me something. Richard remembered. I went to my desk and opened my laptop. The inbox loaded. The calendar filled itself with meetings that did not care about human emotion. Then a meeting invite arrived from Richard. All hands check in. 30 minutes. Mandatory. Kevin saw it on his screen and made a sound that was half sigh, half prayer. Dana leaned toward me. "Here we go," Dana whispered. Mia looked up from her tea. "This is the cleanup." At the scheduled time, we gathered in the main conference room. Some people joined on video from home, faces serious and careful. The office camera showed a row of employees sitting with good posture, as if posture could prevent awkwardness. Richard stood at the front of the room, not behind the table, which was a choice. Standing feels more personal. Standing says I am about to do something human. Melissa sat near the side, notebook open, calm face on. She looked like a person ready to catch anything that fell. Richard cleared his throat and smiled. "I will keep this brief." The room relaxed slightly. People love that sentence. Richard began with gratitude. He thanked everyone for coming to the party. He said it was great to see people connect. He said he appreciated the energy. Then he shifted gently. He said that company events were meant to be fun and inclusive and respectful. He said we should all remember that we represent ourselves and the organization even when the bar is open. He said those words with a smile, but the message was clear. Please do not make me have conversations. Richard continued. He said he was proud of the team. He said he cared about balance. He said he wanted people to speak up if they felt overwhelmed. A few people exchanged glances. The office is always suspicious when a boss mentions balance. It is not that they do not want it. It is that they have heard the word used like decoration before. Richard nodded slightly, as if hearing the skepticism in the room. He said he had been thinking about what Grace said at the party. He did not say it dramatically. He said it with calm sincerity. He said she was right. He said the team had been running hard. He said he wanted to improve how we plan timelines and protect recovery. He said this was not a promise of perfection, but it was a commitment to try. Grace sat calmly, face neutral. She did not look proud. She did not look smug. She looked like someone who had delivered a message and now allowed it to stand on its own. Richard then did the careful things. He addressed the risk without naming anyone. He said if anyone felt uncomfortable at the party or witnessed behavior that crossed a line, they should talk to Melissa or their manager. He said it in a calm way that did not accuse. It simply offered a path. Melissa nodded, quiet and professional. The room stayed silent. Nobody wanted to be the first person to admit anything happened. The office prefers to handle problems through indirect signals, not direct statements. Richard ended with the safest phrase. "Let us have a strong week, and let us take care of each other." People nodded, people murmured agreement. The meeting ended, the room exhaled. As we filed out, Kevin leaned toward me. "That was good," Kevin said quietly. Dana smiled. "Kevin approves," Dana whispered. Mia nodded. That was the best version of cleanup. The office returned to work. Emails, meetings, spreadsheets. The normal world. But under the normal world, the party continued in smaller forms. At the kitchen counter, Olivia Hart cornered Tyler Shaw. "Tyler," Olivia said, "did Mark sing that one song?" Tyler sipped coffee and nodded. "He did." Olivia smiled. "Okay, I can use that." Tyler raised an eyebrow. "Use it for what?" Tyler asked. Olivia shrugged. "For joy," Olivia said. "For leverage, same thing." Tyler stared at her. "You are joking." Olivia smiled. "Mostly. Maybe." Across the office, Andrew King and Lauren Pierce arrived at nearly the same time. They did not greet each other loudly. They did not avoid each other either. They moved with the careful neutrality of two people who had aired something in the cold night and now had to decide what it meant in daylight. Andrew passed Lauren and gave a small nod. Lauren nodded back. It was not warm. It was not hostile. It was simply mature enough to function. Dana watched them from her desk and whispered to me. "They are doing the adult thing," Dana said. "I did not know they could." Kevin overheard and nodded. "That is good. That is healthy." Mia glanced over her screen. Kevin just said healthy, Mia said quietly. That is progress. Dana smiled. We should give Kevin a trophy, Dana said. Best emotional growth. Kevin frowned. Do not. I do not want a trophy. Dana nodded. That is also growth. At mid-morning, Ethan approached Sarah near the printer. He looked nervous, but calmer than Friday. Sarah looked kind, holding a stack of papers like she was protecting herself from awkwardness. Ethan said something quietly. Sarah smiled, she nodded. Ethan exhaled. They walked away together for a moment, toward the kitchen, not alone, but not watched too closely. It looked normal, it looked safe. It looked like two people choosing carefulness. Chloe Rivera, meanwhile, moved through the office like a person who never regretted anything. She smiled at everyone. She greeted Richard with professional warmth. She spoke with Melissa briefly, smile polite. Chloe did not look ashamed. Chloe did not look worried. Chloe looked like someone who had already revised the story in her head and decided she was fine. Dana noticed Chloe and whispered, "She is untouchable." Kevin whispered back, "Nobody is untouchable." Dana smiled. "Kevin," Dana said, "you are cute." Kevin sighed deeply. "Please stop calling me cute." Dana nodded. "What did... adorable." Kevin stared at her. "Dana." Dana smiled sweetly. "I am practicing respect." At lunchtime, the group chat from Friday night came alive again, with one Mia created, Plaza Survival Guide. Messages appeared with the careful humor of people testing the waters. Mark posted a single line, "I am alive and apologizing to anyone I hugged." Olivia replied, "You hugged a plant." Tyler replied, "It was my desk plant." Mark replied, "Tell it I am sorry." Dana posted, "Hallway rumor control. If you are tempted to describe anything you did not see, do not." Someone posted a laughing response. Someone posted a thumbs up. No one posted details. The group chat was doing what group chats do, creating a shared agreement about what will be remembered and what will be buried. Then Mia posted, "Reminder, drink water today, be kind, do not talk about anyone like they are not a person." The chat went quiet for a moment after that because Mia can end nonsense with one sentence. Work continued, the day moved forward, the office settled into its normal pace. In the afternoon, I saw Peter Walsh walk toward Melissa's desk. He moved slowly, like a person approaching a dentist. Melissa looked up, calm. Peter spoke quietly. Melissa nodded. Peter nodded. It looked like an apology. It looked like a conversation about future behavior. Peter walked away looking relieved and also older by a small amount. Kevin watched and whispered. "That is good," Kevin said. Dana nodded. "Yes," Dana said, "that is the responsible ending." Mia looked up. "Sometimes," Mia said, "people learn." Near the end of the day, an email arrived from Richard to the whole company. The subject was simple, "Thank you." The email was short, which was meaningful. Richard thanked everyone for attending. He said he appreciated the energy and the work that made the year successful. He reminded everyone to rest and take care of themselves. He said he would be looking at resourcing and timeline planning in the new year. The email ended with a calm holiday wish and a reminder about the employee support resources, which was a subtle sign he knew the party might have left some people feeling strange. People read the email quietly. Some smiled, some rolled their eyes, some felt seen, some felt nervous. All of it existed at once because that is how offices work. When the day ended, the office felt calmer than it had in the morning. The sharpest edge had softened. The storm had passed. The cleanup had been done. Mia packed up and looked at me. "How are you feeling?" Mia asked. I said fine, tired but fine. Dana stood too, stretching. "I am fine." "And I will never do karaoke again." Kevin looked up from his desk. "You did not do karaoke." Dana smiled. "Exactly. And I will keep it that way." Kevin nodded, satisfied. We left the office one by one, stepping into the cold evening again. The city looked calm. The sidewalk lights were steady. The party felt farther away now, less like a living thing, and more like a story people would tell carefully. On Monday morning, nothing is ever fully erased, but it can be filed, it can be softened, it can be turned into a lesson that everyone pretends to learn, and that is the delicate art of pretending. You do not deny the truth, you simply handle it gently enough that people can keep going. Chapter 10. The gentle epilogue and the group chat that deletes itself. Later that week, the city shifted into its deeper holiday mood. Lights looked warmer, the air felt sharper, people moved faster on the streets, wrapped in scarves, holding bags, carrying plans. New York City does not slow down for feelings, but it does dress up for the season. On Thursday evening, I walked past the plaza again, not because I needed to relive anything, mostly because the route home took me there, and also because curiosity is a quiet habit. I wanted to see the building in normal time, without the noise of co-workers and the thick air of an open bar. The entrance glowed the same way it had on Friday. Doormen held doors, people entered with purpose. The lobby lights reflected on polished surfaces. Everything looked elegant and calm, like the place had never witnessed a novelty trophy and a desperate speech. That is the power of a beautiful building. It can hold your chaos and still look perfect. I paused for a moment near the entrance, not going in, just watching. A couple stepped out laughing, a family entered, carrying shopping bags, a taxi pulled up. The city continued. Behind me, my phone buzzed. The group chat, Plaza Survival Guide, had new messages. Mark posted, "I found glitter in my pocket." "I do not own glitter," Olivia replied. "Glitter finds you when you need humility." "Please do not bring glitter near my desk plant." "Your desk plant survived. That is the real miracle." "Please do not put glitter on company property." "Kevin, glitter is not a policy, it is a lifestyle." That is the problem. "Everyone, stop feeding the glitter topic, drink water." The chat calmed again. Mia always brought the chat back to earth. Then, a new message appeared, from Sarah Collins. Sarah wrote that she wanted to say thank you to whoever checked in on people at the party. She said she appreciated the kindness. She said it made her feel safe. The chat responded with small supportive messages. Dana posted a heart made of words, because we avoid symbols. Kevin posted a short line saying kindness matters. Olivia posted a joke about safety being the real gift. Mia posted a simple message saying, "We take care of each other." Then Ethan posted. Ethan wrote that he was grateful too. He said he had been nervous and people had been kind. He said he appreciated everyone. There was a pause in the chat after that. A rare pause, because even in a sarcastic group chat, sometimes sincerity lands and the room goes quiet. Then Dana posted, "Ethan, you did great. Also, never trust eggnog." Ethan replied, "Agreed." The chat returned to normal. The next day at the office, things continued to settle. The party faded into background noise, less a threat and more a shared reference point. People still remembered details, but they had decided not to weaponize them, most people at least. There is always someone who cannot resist. There is always someone who treats memory like currency. Chloe Rivera was that someone, but in a polished way. Chloe never gossiped like a villain. Chloe gossiped like a journalist, with interest and selective editing. I saw Chloe speaking to a co-worker near the kitchen, voice low, smile bright. She was not saying anything explicitly unkind, she was simply collecting reactions. She was simply placing herself in the center of the story without appearing to try. Dana noticed and whispered, "Chloe is harvesting." Kevin whispered back. "Harvesting what?" Kevin asked. Dana replied, "Information. Confidence. Future advantage. Who knows?" Kevin frowned. "That is wrong." Mia glanced over, calm. "It is human. Not ideal, but human." Across the office, Richard Hale seemed different in small ways. Not transformed, not suddenly wise, just slightly more careful. He asked more questions in meetings. He paused before assigning deadlines. He did not send late emails for a few days, which was either growth or coincidence. He praised Grace more openly. He spoke about sustainability, Not hot in the trendy sense, but in the human sense. People noticed. They did not throw a parade because offices rarely reward bosses for basic kindness, but they noticed. Grace Bennett continued her work with steady calm. She did not mention her speech again. She did not act like a hero. She simply moved forward, as if the message was now part of the air. Andrew King and Lauren Pierce began to behave like two people who had acknowledged something real. Their meetings were still tense, but less sharp. Andrew interrupted less. Lauren let him finish more. Neither of them became perfect, but they became slightly better, which is often the best you get in a workplace without a full renovation. Peter Walsh stayed quiet for a while. He still smiled, still did his work, but he kept his bravery under control. Peter had learned a simple lesson. A microphone is not a diary. Melissa Grant remained calm and professional, but there was a new firmness in her presence. Not anger, just clarity. Melissa had survived too many seasons of holiday chaos to be surprised. She simply adjusted policies and reminded managers to watch for stress. She did it in the gentle way that makes people comply without feeling scolded, and Ethan and Sarah kept doing the careful, sweet thing. They did not make it dramatic. They did not make it public. They had lunch with a group sometimes, they walked out together occasionally, but always with others nearby. They were friendly, they were kind. They did not create a story that could be twisted. One afternoon I saw them in the kitchen, standing near the coffee machine. Sarah laughed at something Ethan said. Ethan smiled. It was simple. It looked safe. Dana walked past and whispered, "I like them. I want them to stay normal." Kevin whispered back, "Normal is relative." Dana smiled. Kevin just became philosophical. Kevin frowned. "No, I am being realistic." As the week moved on, the group chat began to quiet. People posted less. The energy shifted from survival humor to normal life. That is how these chats work. They bloom, then fade, then return when the next shared event happens. Then, on Friday, Mia posted done final message. She wrote that she hoped everyone was doing okay. She wrote that if anyone felt weird, it was normal. She wrote that we should be kind to ourselves and each other. She wrote a simple line, "Let the story rest." Dana replied, "Mia is wise. Mia is also correct. I am letting it rest." Kevin replied, "Agreed, let it rest." Olivia replied, "Let it rest." Also Mark, "Please stop talking to plants." Mark replied, "The plant started it." Tyler replied, "My plant did not start anything." Then the chat went quiet again. That evening I walked home through the city, lights glowing, air cold, people rushing. I thought about the party the way you think about a dream you almost forgot. The details had softened, the emotions had settled. The story had moved from urgent to mild. Office parties are strange because they are both nothing and everything. They are what night. They are also a mirror. People see themselves, sometimes clearly, sometimes distorted, sometimes for the first time in months. Some people drink and become louder, some become softer, some become brave, some become messy, some become kind, some become careless. Most become a mix of all of it. The company calls it culture. Human resources calls it risk. The employees call it a story. The hotel staff calls it a Friday. I reached a corner where the streetlights made the sidewalk look gentle. The city noise softened. My breath made a small cloud in the air. I realized something simple. The office did what it always does. It survived its own holiday night. It made small repairs. It pretended to learn. It returned to work. And maybe, in quiet ways, it did learn a little. Richard heard a truth and did not punish it. Grace said something needed and did not become cruel. Peter learned to keep his honesty in his pocket. Andrew and Lauren found a small thread of maturity. Ethan and Sarah found a careful sweetness. Melissa carried the whole thing without demanding applause. Mia reminded people to be kind. Dana turned chaos into humor without turning people into targets. Kevin discovered that responsibility can be human, not procedural. It was not perfect, it was not a movie ending, it was simply human. A little awkward, a little funny, a little tender. And as the city kept moving, as the lights stayed warm, as the air stayed cold and clean, the story settled into a calm shape. A soft drama with light humor and gentle tension. A story that could be remembered without hurting anyone too much. A story that could finally be put down, like a coat at coat check, handed over with relief, and retrieved later only if you really needed it.